one. Hi everyone, this is Christine Jossie of Mail Something Pretty, and I'm really excited to show you this card. I love this card. I came up with it, and it's using some new products from the holiday catalog, and you can do some cool things with it. So this is the one we're going to make. It's a nice blueberry pie card. Right now it's August. It's blueberry season where I am, and so I thought that would make a fun card. And I'm going to show you a second the different variations. But this is the stamp set. And so again, it's in the holiday catalog. And so these are kind of the different desserts you can put on your little cake stand. And you have the, I guess they call it a cloche, or the cover of the cake stand. And so that's what I did. So the blueberry pie one, you can make cupcakes. It's like all the same card. I just changed the food. Caramel apples, except I put ghosts on this one instead of a heart. And I did two versions of the fruit cake. So I'm really excited about them. So I'm going to show you again how to do that. And this is the holiday catalog that they are in. And one other thing I'm going to show you before we get started is in the holiday catalog, there are actually two sets that go with the same die. So this is the one I'm going to use, and there's also this one, which is more holiday based. So I used this die to cut out, I did it in Vellum, so it's harder to see, but to cut out the cloche here. But it also lines up with this, that's the wrong size, but it lines up with the cloche in this set. And so that's really the same stamp of these two. And then the dies, go with more of this set. It's bundled with this set, so that one's separate, but they work together, and you get more of the, the trees and the birds and the stuff to put inside for Christmas time. But I just wanted to show you both of them. If you were going to not get the dies and just use this set, for this card, you could just stamp this stamp on the vellum and cut it out with scissors. I cut all the rest of the pieces out with scissors. So there's some workarounds for it. Okay, so I have my pieces here. We are first, I think I'm gonna color first, so let that dry. All right, I only have a big piece of paper. So what I did with the blueberry pies, I actually stamped it with cinnamon cider ink. Normally you would stamp, which is what I did with the other two pieces, when you use the blends markers, the black Memento ink, but I kind of liked the look of the cinnamon cider color with the pie crust, so that's what I did. That's what I'm going to show you. All right, so here's my pie. I'm going to let that dry for a second, and I will also stamp my the cake stand in the black, and a heart. Oh, I don't think I have that up here. Here it is. I will just use a stamp because I don't have another block. Heart, okay. All right, so I have my blends colors that I brought up, that I think this is, well, those I don't need for right now. So I think that's what I used. So what I did for the pie is I actually used ivory for the crust. Ivory and bronze come together as a pack, and every other set, they come with like the dark and light of each color, but ivory and bronze come together. There are two tips to the blends. Hopefully you can see. You have more of your fine tip, or I call this one a fine tip, and this is more like a writer's tip. So you have like the writer's tip, or more of a like a paintbrush brush tip. I like using the brush tip myself, but everyone is different. I like to paint. I haven't done it in a while, but I like to paint, so I like a paintbrush. I find I can actually get a little bit more control. All right, so I'm just going to lightly Kind of go over my pie crust here. Nice edges, crimped edges like that. And then I'm gonna let it dry. Because I use the cinnamon cider, which is a regular ink, it needs a little dry time. With the Memento ink, you can actually put the two colors together and it's fine. But if I did the blue for the base right now, it would bleed together. And that would not look good. So I will just do my base. This is Balmy Blue, I believe. And I'll show you again. I did, and you can see I'm not really coloring perfectly. I actually like some of that white space in there. It kind of shows some highlight. It's one way of getting highlights. And then I'm gonna just go back over where there's lines with the same color. So really it gets like 2 layers of that one color. So that's one makes it darker. I could introduce the darker version of the marker, but I find sometimes this is enough. And then if you wanted to have some darker parts on the base where the shadows are, you could do that. And it will dry, and it should dry fine. So it's not a perfect coloring job, but it kind of, you'll see as it dries, it should go back and blend together. If it doesn't, I'll just go back and blend it together. So I'll leave that out. Even, oh, I didn't bring my red up. I actually have one cut out. That's what I did for the red too, is let's see, this might not be dark enough. Let's see, I colored it in with a heart, because you can see it looks like it's darker on the inside. And then I went back and did a second layer of that same color. And that's what gave it, it's more like saturation. This is actually, I'm gonna use for cupcake color, so I'll show you that in a second. Okay, that should be good. So for the blueberry base I used the light, it looks really dark, it will lighten. I used the light version, I hope, yep, of the Night of Navy. So it's dark. I like to turn my paper too, so I can get, this is a big piece, but I find that I do my edging better when I can see it better. Okay. And then if you want, you can use the other tip to do these little blueberry holes. Okay. I'm gonna let that dry again, and I'll do one more layer on the crust. And let's see, I love to color. So if you wanted that blended in more, you could kind of go over it some more. Or if you wanted, again, if you wanted it a little bit darker, you can use the darker color. All right, those are done. So while I'm letting that dry, I figured I'd show you how I did the cupcake. Let me find the cupcake card. I just really wanted to show you how I did the frosting, but I'll show you the whole thing. So I use, and this is actually an old color. It's Pink Pirouette. I need to get some more markers. So you'll see like some of my tips are not as firm, and that's because they get used. So sometimes the tips do kind of dull. So you can just be careful with them, or use the other side. And then, you know, they do, once they do dry out too, or use, I shouldn't say dry out, they do get used up, so then you have to replace them. So you can either, I'm just going over the lines with the darker version of this color. You can see, I think that's actually, tips starting to get dry. These ones are old. I've used them a lot. Okay, so that's how I did kind of the base. Not hard. And I did the frosting. I used, believe it or not, the light smoky slate. So what I did was I just kind of went over the line. I think I just did the two, yeah. Which looks weird, but hold on. And then I used the color lifter. So the color lifter, it's not really an eraser, but it does what it says. It lifts the color, so it helps lighten. It's sometimes how you can put like highlights in. So you can kind of hopefully see it's wet, it will dry, but it's kind of taking some of that color away or softening that color. So really, I'm just trying to make it look like a shadow of white frosting. This one I kind of did a little too much gray, but and it doesn't come off the marker. It's really cool. You can kind of, you know, if you went in a darker place and you wanted like a highlight, let's see, you can probably see it on there. It will, it almost looks, see how it's coming white? So that's how I did I probably, I might have done a little too much gray on the camera. And then I used Mango Melody for my vanilla, my yellow cake. And I used bronze for my chocolate cake, because that was really the only brown I have, but actually I like it. I'll do 2 chocolates on this one. Okay, so that's how I did. Again, I probably did a little too much gray, but that's how I did the frosting. So it just kind of gives more of a shadow and then highlights of that. So, so those are, oh, I was gonna go back and do one more layer on the crust just to make it look darker. Again, the same color, but it just gives that more richness, okay? I could play with blends forever, but I'm gonna stop. And I cut them out with scissors. So those are already cut out. So we're just gonna put the card together. And when I cut out, I leave a white border around everything, especially because it's gonna go on a white background so you don't even see it. But I find I cut better, right? It's hard to cut exactly on that line, and if you go a little squiggly, this white gives you a little grace in cutting. All right, so I'll put the card together. It's just a regular card base. I'll do the thick Whisper White. No, oh, it's not called that anymore. Basic White. This pattern is, or paper's from the Pattern Play. I think it's called Pattern Play. It's actually a host set. So if you either yourself purchased $150 or more, you become a host, and so it qualifies you for Stampin' Rewards, 10% stamping rewards, so you get $15 of free products. But you also have the choice of picking out host-only sets, and usually they've only been stamp sets. This is the first time they've offered paper, and I love the paper because it's a huge pack. You get 4 sheets of each sheet, and then it's black and white on one side and colored on the other side. It's a great pack of paper, and I think it's $18, but you can use that Stampin' Reward money to buy it. So that's what I used, and it reminded me of like a kitchen tin ceiling, you know, those pie plate ceilings. Okay, and so then this I embossed already in the brick, that might be called mortar, brick and mortar, I think it's called, the embossing folder. And let's put that down. Okay, so I already cut, remember I showed you that die, out of vellum, and I really like this look. All right, so I'm first gonna put my base down, and I'm definitely using glue, especially because of the bumpiness of the embossing folder. So that's gonna go down there. It looks fairly even. All right, and before I put this down, I'm actually gonna glue my pie on top. I did that again. So this is gonna go close to the edge, not on the edge, but close to the edge on my vellum, okay? Like that. And then I'm gonna use a dimensional for my heart. And I'm gonna put that, I was imagining like the steam's coming out as a heart, like that. And then I'll flip it over And I will put glue kind of where that heart is and where that pie is, because then you won't see it. So it's a little magic. And I'll just put that on top. Now you could put the pie behind, but or even all the desserts I put in front, because they're just more vibrant, right? And so you have the illusion, you know it's in a cake stand, but you can kind of see it better. And then lastly, I already pre-tied a bow, so I'm just going to use a glue dot. I like to use them. Oh, this one's almost empty. I'm just trying to even out my bow before I put it down. Oh, it's all twisty. Okay, and I'll just put it down there. And I'm gonna fuss with it later. I'll trim it, it's a little long. And there we go. I will put pictures of these all up on my blog, maybe even Instagram too, so you can see them all. But I love them. I love how they came out. I love the look with the black and white, and then you can, you know, change your stand per season. I did, you know, try to do the Christmas ones and the Halloween one, however you like. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to show you with this card. Thank you very much for your patience and watching, and be sure to check out, I'll put the details up, mailsomethingpretty.com, and I will see you next time. Thanks, bye-bye.